Hello there. What did I want to say? I've been diagnosed with schizophrenia quite some time back, and I'm wondering if there's any way you can get that wiped off. Because if I was to fit, a diagnosis, which I think all these diagnoses and labels are pretty bad on people, and I think it causes tremendous harm to a lot of people being diagnosed as schizophrenic, because most people that are diagnosed with schizophrenia instantly get 20 years off their life. They die 20 years younger than most people. People with a diagnosis of schizophrenia, it doesn't even necessarily it means they've got schizophrenia, but all the stress and stuff must tire them quicker, or I don't really know. But if I was to be diagnosed correctly, they'd diagnose me with post-traumatic stress disorder or paranoid delusional disorder, which I've said in many videos that it's not a disorder. The paranoid delusions the people are having are not delusions. They're just very hard to believe situations that have happened. If you look into paranoid delusional disorder, you'll probably come to that conclusion too, if you've got the time. So it's basically saying people with paranoid delusional disorder, well, they're diagnosed correctly because they're being gang stalked and they're being targeted, and they're being there's been street theatrics done with them, and so on and so forth. They've probably had poisonings, which I have had. They've probably had hallucinogenics given to them while they're in prison, so you can't even see the walls. They're moving that much. I've had other hallucinogens given to me at other times in my life too. I've been given I've said all this before, but I'll go over again. I've been given a poison that was basically boiling my blood inside. It was making my stomach do somersaults in my stomach, but it was burning at the same time. It was nasty, whatever it was. I don't have a clue what it was, or I have a clue who administered it to me, but I don't have a clue what the drug was. So it was bad. It was poison, basically. So yeah, people with paranoid delusional disorder, it's not a disorder. It's labelled as a disorder because people can't prove that their thing is actually happening to them when it is, in my opinion. So if anyone feels like looking into paranoid delusional disorder, it's actually a disorder that states nothing out of the ordinary, or they talk about nothing out of the ordinary. They don't have any other delusions or anything, but the story's so indented into them, they have to keep telling this story, which could happen, but it's very unlikely. That's what it says on the Wikipedia page. It could happen, but it's very unlikely. Well, if it could happen, give the poor fuckers the benefit of the doubt before diagnosing them with something. If it could happen, surely. But in a way, diagnosis, on the other hand, is good for some reasons, because if you're being targeted, it makes it very hard to work. It makes it very hard for people to make money. It makes it very hard to go out to the bloody shops. I find hard enough. As soon as I get under them lights in the shops, the lighting, it must do something to my brain. The flicker rate of the lighting. I know it zombifies everyone else. They've got the flicker rate at that, so it zombifies people, so they buy and spend and just look forward and bump into you and stuff. But with me, it puts me in a flight or fight type state and a really anxious state. So yeah, it's not good. But post-traumatic stress disorder or paranoid delusional disorder would have been the ones that I should have been diagnosed with, one or the other. If you're going the diagnosis route, and they decided to say it's schizophrenia. I don't hear voice to skull. I think I get sympathetic telepathy where it's going into my brain though, implanted thoughts, but I don't hear noises in my ears. I don't hear. Well, I have on occasions, but not very often. So, yeah. And the psychiatrist did actually say to me, if I take the antipsychotic that he wanted me to take, which was Clozaril at the time, which is a lethal antipsychotic, and you need a blood test every week for the first few weeks, and then you need a blood test every 2 weeks for the rest of the time you're on it. And you know how they like to keep people on this stuff once they've got them on it. The pharmaceutical companies must be making billions off having people gang stalked and having people from the top down street theatrics, and they've managed to manipulate it in such a way that they're just using normal people. These people aren't specialists. They're not good at what they do. They just do it because they're told to in one way or another. It could be a favour. It could be because they think you've just come out of prison for rape. It could be anything. It could be any reason, but they do it. But it's all run from the top down, as we know, and for all we know, it could be run by a bloody psychiatrist, because it was a psychiatrist that invented the voice to skull machine in the first place. So that's why I question: are all schizophrenics, or are they getting voice to skull, which is turning them mad anyway? Because they're on a list to send mad. I think they've got people on lists to send them mental, or to cause torment to people. I think they've got a torment list, basically, or a list of some sort. It probably labels me as a potential terrorist or something like that. So it's not good. None of it's any good. The stuff that they do is not good. It's not good for anyone, but they think they're doing good for people. I mean, the one the mental health did, where they got me in the doctors and tried triggering me off intentionally by just not listening to a word I said. I told them to go. I told them I didn't want them here, and they pretended, well, he pretended not to hear me at all. I've gone through this on another one, so I won't go into it but my mum witnessed all that. She's seen how the theatrics work. Now, I said to my mum, yeah, you've seen it once. Now times that by a couple of thousand, and you'll see what it would end up doing to someone. It winds them up. It's like when you get the dickhead behind you in school tapping you on the back, constantly tapping you on the back, and you're in assembly or something, and you think, fuck, you want to give him a good elbow, but you don't, because you're a good kid. Well, I was anyway. But then you turn round and you get bollocked by the teacher in front for turning round, and the kid's the one that's poking you. But that's what it's like. It's like you're being poked continuously. Each time they do this, these theatrics, it's like you're just being poked and poked and poked and poked and poked until you turn round, basically, until they want you to turn around. But turning round with these pokes, these are much more potent pokes. These are pokes with something very sharp. You want to lose it, and that's what they want you to do, lose it, in order to put you under a section so you can be put in there for a long time. And they're not helpful places at all. I know from the one I went to. Well, it's not helpful to a TI, maybe helpful to other mental patients that aren't actually targeted, but not helpful to me or any other TI. So I feel sorry for any TI that gets put in one of them places. And I know a few of us have from meeting and speaking to a few of them. So it's not good. But that seems to be what they want to do. So a psychiatrist built these voice to skull technology and other technology that can knock you from side to side. I'll have to read back on it. Actually, I haven't been looking at anything that's going to depress me for a long time. I've been trying to stay away from anything that might put me on a downer. So, but I will have a look to do a bit of research so I can do a better video. But they definitely had the pictures to skull videos, not videos, they had the picture to skull technology too, back all the way back in the 50s. They tested that on loads of people. You don't really hear much about that if you read the sub-projects. It doesn't tell you much. But now I'm sure they can do it. I think they could do it wirelessly back then. It just needed to be aimed at your head, which is a receiver. It can receive information at certain frequencies. I don't know what frequencies or how these technologies work, but I know they do, because I know they've been tested on loads of other people, and I think they're probably being tested on loads of people now. In fact, a bloke in prison told me he was getting this same thing as me, where he was getting the flashing images in front of his face where you can't recognize them. They just move so fast, and you can feel it moving through the back of your brain. It's like worms crawling through your brain when it happens, and then you're like get all jerky and spasmy, and then it stops because you've spasmed out of the reach of the whatever it is they're using. I think these things must have to be pretty precise, and I think it's probably satellite navigated, mobile phone mast navigated. People could probably trigger you with their mobile phones if they wanted. I don't know. Cause a spasm or whatever, if they're part of the dark web. I don't know about any of that, but I know it's happening, and I'm sorry to any other TI that is out there getting the same treatment. I'm sorry for the voice to skull. I'm sorry for the flashing lights they put in front of your eyes and stuff like that. The clicking in the ears, the ringing in the ears, the continuous popping of the ears, like we've been swimming constantly or under a tunnel in a train. It's all weird. So, yeah. I wish I could do more, say more to help, really, but I'll try and look into it a bit more, because I've forgotten most of the things. But I know there's technology that can knock you off balance. It's fired at you, and a frequency's fired at you, and it knocks you off balance. And I'm always like, I'm getting up, walking around, and then boom, I'll just get knocked to one side, like I've been forced to one side, or someone's pushed me. That's what it feels like. An invisible man's just pushed me. They did it to me a lot while I was on my bike going really slow, and I don't know how it followed me, but they seemed to be yanking me from side to side, and I could barely balance on the bike when my balance is normally pretty good. So that's weird. They had instant concussion device, which can instantly just cause concussion. They fire at you, boom, and you will forget everything you're saying. You won't have a clue what you're saying. And that was made so all these people to get mind blocks when they're like, oh, fuck it, I've just forgot what I'm saying. Just completely forgot, it's completely gone. Maybe they're testing them weapons out on them, because I'm always getting it. Boom. But I think a numerous amount of weapons have been tested on me. I don't think it's just been one. I think they've tested voice to skull with me. I think they don't think it fits, so they're testing these bright flashing images in front of my face, which aren't from your own brain. It's just a feeling you get where you know something's not come from your own brain, because it's impossible. I've taken drugs in the past and stuff, and I know what if being high or whatever, or out your head, feels like. I know what psychosis feels like. It's completely different to anything like that. You know you're delusional when you got psychosis, and you know the strange things that happen are part to do with your brain not functioning properly at that time. Well, this is different. You know this has come from the outside world. You know that this is being fired at you from somewhere, from something. And I think it's all got worse since I've had Wi-Fi, actually, with the shocks and stuff. But saying that, the last 3 or 4 nights, I haven't had anything, no shocks, nothing. But I've been fasting. I've been barely eating at all. I don't know if that's anything to do with it. But no, it's been strange. No shocks at all, which is great news. But then they start coming on again, and you think, oh shit. Because then you know even more that it's coming from somewhere else, when your physical body just completely stops shocking, shaking and spasming, being shocked, shaken and spasming all over the place, and your spine vibrating can just stop. And then even for a month, it stopped for me for a month before, at least. Then it all just came on again. Nothing changed in my diet or out like that, so you can't go blaming it on diet. I know most logical people are going to look into diet and stuff like that first, but no, it's nothing to do with what you've been eating at the time. It's because they are testing on you and me, and God knows how many other people in the world that don't think they're being tested on because they've been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia or psychosis or something like that, and they're getting blasted. Basically, they're being hit with radiation. I know they can make you weak. I know they can even stop you being able to walk, stop you putting one leg in front of the other. That's how bad it got for me at one point. Well, at many points, where I'd just go out and I'd feel, what the fuck? I can't put one leg in front of the other. I'm walking weird. What's happening here? So then you have to try marching like a soldier just in order to stop the weird walking. But other times I've been trying to walk and it's like my legs are that exhausted I can't move them, or my upper body at all. And that's when I've been near mobile phone masts. But as I said on the last video, could all be a coincidence, or it might not be. But I know these things are utilised. I don't think they put all these things up just to help people have their phone signals. This phones and stuff were all pissed around with the army first of all, and the military. And I think that's what we're being pissed around with, the military. I even had street theatrics on a train saying some mad stuff. And they were talking about me. They even mentioned my name. And she said, yeah, we've got them on all different stages. They're just, you just like a few minutes behind each other. So apparently us TIs are just missing each other by bits, so there's probably plenty more TIs that don't know they're being tested on, and don't have a clue that they're being tested on, and might not think they got anything mentally wrong with them, because they could be testing on people with learning difficulties who aren't going to have a clue. So they could be testing on any type of person, really. It doesn't seem it at the moment, but if you've got learning difficulties, are you going to come forward and say, hold on a minute, I'm being tested on? Or are you going to see a mental health practitioner that's going to say, I'm sorry, I know you've got learning difficulties, but you've also got paranoid schizophrenia? And they're going to think, oh, this is why all these things have scared me. This is why these situations have got me scared. Not because people are acting and causing street theatrics, but unfortunately they do street theatrics. They do acting and stuff, and it's hellish. It's a hellish situation because you don't know when it's going to happen next, and then you've got to really hold your cool continuously. You can't get angry because you're in a place where if you get angry, people will be like, the witnesses, oh yeah, he needs to be sectioned. That's what they do it for. It's to get witnesses to get you sectioned. And there's a lot of people that already know they're going to try and get you sectioned, because I've had like 5 people in a line, as I told you on the other video, watching and waiting to see what I would do. But the trouble is, they'd frighten me so much in the class I could barely walk, so I had to just lean on this bin, and eventually I ended up getting home. But yeah, they have people watching. In fact, one of my mental health workers showed me a tattoo on his wrist, right? And he says, "Do you know what that means?" And I went, "No." And he went, "I'm a watcher." And I was like, "Right, okay. You're a watcher. So you actually, you think you're doing a right good thing here, watching people. You in fact, you're that into it. You've got a tattoo, which is off the film Highlander, where the Watchers have tattoos. So he got a Watcher tattoo off Highlander, and he's proud to be a Watcher." And I thought, fuck, you don't know what you're doing, mate. You don't have a clue what you are doing, what harm you are doing to individual people. And I reckon it's got to be done way more than we think. And I think it might happen to most people in the mental health system. If it is that case, we're definitely not alone. There could be hundreds and hundreds more that could come out just in this small space in England that I live, and then thousands over the country, if they heard from us, if they heard about us TIs and what's been happening. Because they might go, hold on a minute, that exact same situation or a very similar situation happened, where they kept repeating things that I'd done, trying to make me think that I'm psychic and stuff like that, and vice versa, doing opposing things. Like I say, it's a shame on you workers that have done that, and I'd love to know who got you to do that, because you say you have supervisors telling you not to come round if I'm pissed up. Well, that's fine, but who are these supervisors? Are they the ones that told you to do that? Are they the ones that told you to do the street theatrics? Are they the ones that got you to ring me and ask me over 7 times or more to go in the car with him, when I said no, 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 it's okay, I don't want to, I want to walk? And basically I was psychologically forced to get in this car with this mental health worker. I'm not naming his name, but he had the tattoo of the Watcher on his hand. I'm a Watcher. And took me there. He was supposed to just not get out of the car, but before I could even get out and say thanks, I was just saying thanks, he jumped out of the car and went in the doctor's surgery, knowing that I didn't want him in there. So I told him, please can you go now, my mum is here with me too, please can you go? And he just kept looking away and pretending he didn't hear me, over and over again. I told him so many times. And then when I caught his eye, I was like, right, you need to leave now. I've told you so many times, you need to leave. I'm not comfortable in this situation. And he'd had the 2 big blokes that sort of came in just after him, and then nodded and sat down right next to us, and crushed my mum in the seat way. So my mum felt intimidated by these big two men that had come in, and they were giving each other the nod and stuff. I thought, this is planned out. You want to get me to lose my temper in here so witnesses can say, yeah, he needs to be sectioned. Because if your mother doesn't, or your next of kin doesn't say if they say they don't think you should be sectioned, they have to have other people, don't they? They have to have good reasons to get you sectioned. But yeah, I also think street theatrics was designed probably by the pharmaceutical companies in order to make fucking shitloads, billions off antipsychotics. And that's why it's done. If every month or so you can just trigger one person off again. I was speaking to a friend over over the Facebook Messenger, and he says he gets psychosis. It comes back about twice a year, he says. And I was thinking, well, maybe it don't. Maybe they start doing a few skits. They start doing a few street theatrics twice a year. It don't take much manpower. And then you've gone psychotic. They can diagnose you as a schizophrenic and put you on all the antipsychotics in the world. And then they're making continuous money whilst they only have to do the acts a couple of times a month or more to people like me, more towards targets. But to normal mental patients, I think it happens every few months, just in order to keep them on antipsychotics. They want to dumb us all down. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't want us all on antipsychotic medicine, just to keep us under better mind control. Because all this system is about is controlling us, is to keep us under like as much control as they can possibly have. The trouble is, there's people like me that are harder to control. Not that I'm a bad person, not that I do bad things. Okay, I've done one bad thing, but I think if I wasn't in this program in the first place, that thing would have never have happened, because I wouldn't have been out that day. I wouldn't have been drinking. I wouldn't have been trying to drown my sorrows because of the stuff that was happening to me. So, and I wouldn't have been mixing with complete fucking scum. So yeah, I think it's a bad system. I've done 26 minutes and 40 seconds, which is quite good for me. So I hope I said anything that was useful. But that's what I think they do. I'll repeat it. The pharmaceuticals companies have a pyramid scheme where they get people to do street theatre on people that are mentally ill, and if they're not mentally ill, they'll soon think they're mentally ill because of the street theatre. They'll think, oh no, this has come back. Instead of thinking, hold on, these people are targeting me. They'll think, oh no, this mental thing's come back where I'm seeing coincidences far too much and stuff. Okay, coincidences happen when you're anxious. Coincidences do happen when you're anxious, but if they can keep causing coincidences, it's going to make you anxious. And this is what the fuckers do. And it's making me a bit angry, but I'll leave it there. And thank you for watching my video and that. And I hope everyone's doing well. I've met some good people through Facebook and through YouTube. I've met some decent people that are TIs, so I hope you're all doing well.